Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 3 of Turtle Wars. We are on to one of the penultimate episodes of the season. 3 left, counting this one, before the playoff bracket will be all that remains. 32 machines will be in that bracket, of course, but we don't know all those machines yet. Gonna find a few more out tonight, aren't we, though? Remember, round 4 is a mix round. High-tier machines taking on low-tier machines, and we open with one that I think is going to be a bit of a slaughterfest. Soichoku, 2-1 at the moment. Bit of a disappointing loss to Conundrum Evo. Chucked out the arena by a full-body spinner. Spider, in the meantime, probably should be 2-1. In all honesty, they had a tough first match, but looked really promising against both Skynet and Lightning Strikes, but inexperience really doomed them against Lightning Strikes, and I don't think they're going to pull off a win here tonight. Next up, New Blood, who sits at 2-1 after losing in the main event against Demonic, takes on the Biggest Cheese, who also sits at 2-1. New Blood feels like a pretty solid counter for a bot like the Biggest Cheese, but we'll see what happens in the arena, of course. Storm 2 looking for an undefeated season, sitting at 3-0 at the moment. Panic Attack 2-1. Storm 2's probably making playoffs with its current record, which is very impressive for the machine. Panic Attack, a win here would definitely cement it. A loss makes it a bit more questionable. UFO 5, on the other hand, has probably already guaranteed their spot in the playoffs. Their only loss was a split decision to Extra Peppermint, who's been stellar this year. And their wins have been against Generic and Able, and the win against Generic is the one that really matters, because that's one that is excruciatingly impressive. In the meantime, their opponent, Distraught, it showed potential, but it's also shown that it's got a big weakness of not having a Shreemek, and I don't think it's going to be able to land any good shots against UFO 5, so their season's already probably over. More so after this match, I would say. After that, 2-1 and 2 machines. Extra Peppermint probably had their best performance of the season in round 3 against Plank. They really had the champs on the back foot for most of that fight, but Plank managed to pull it off really late on. They're taking on Vertigo, who I keep wanting to call Vulcan every time. Vertigo is in a bit of a tough spot, right? 1 and 2 means playoffs probably aren't going to happen. A win here, though, maybe? It's a tough argument to make, really. We'll see what Vulcan can do, or Vertigo can do. If they're impressive enough, maybe playoffs will be a thing. Next up, another 3-0 low-tier machine. Synthetic has been a bit of a surprise. Coming into the season, it was a very new kind of design. It's got a very low center of gravity, and it's really worked out. Lego grapplers normally suffer from a lack of durability, but this machine has proven that it can take punishment pretty well. But there is a machine who can dish out a lot of punishment in quality control. 1 and 2 at the moment. Quality control started the season really well. Since then, last round, I don't even remember who they faced off the top of my head. It wasn't a very good showing, though. Sorry, no, they faced Heatwave last round. And it wasn't a great showing against a machine who at the time was winless. They had a great showing against both Soichoku and Badlands, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Then there's our main event. 2 of the deadliest newcomers. Demonic, who sits at 3-0, a win here, 4-0, 2 wins in main events, would be huge and might be enough to give them a top 10 seed despite them being a low-tier machine. Heatwave, in the meantime, needs this win for their season to survive. It feels like they got outclassed by Generic, outclassed by Medcart. They themselves outclassed Quality Control, but it's going to be a difficult argument to make, I think. A win here might push Heatwave into the top 32, but a loss might mark the end of their season. Without further ado, though, Soichoku vs. Spider is up first. Let's get to the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the arena for Turtle Wars' 3rd season. Last time we started round 4, and we completed the seasons of 14 machines. Remember, round 4 is high tier bots versus low tier bots. It's a chance to prove that you can really hang with the big boys. One machine advanced to 4-0, and that was Derpy 18.0. In the meantime, one machine also advanced to 0-4. That bot was OOTA. Green Screen took the victory in the main event over his brother machine and likely pushed himself into the top 32. In the meantime, here, we've got our opening match. Soichoku, fresh off of a disappointing loss where they got wrecked by Conundrum Evo. They take on Spider, who sits at 1-2. After they got a drive module ripped off in their opening match, they managed to bounce back with an Uta on Skynet before, in their last match, breaking most of Lightning Strikes, but getting pushed down the pit. Spider has chosen to attach the axe instead of the flipper, saying that it's pointless to try and get underneath Soichoku, so they're just going to try and break it like Conundrum Evo did. Spider, winless so far with the axe, and undefeated with the flipper, so we'll see how that decision pans out. 3, 2, 1, activate Spider. Gonna have a tough time, I think, with a loss here. They're certainly out, but even with a win, I don't know. One of the forks of Soichoku already looking kind of damaged, and now Soichoku, they've got a grip. They've got a grip. They're going straight for that pit release button. Straight for the advantage, and Spider, they've got to try and get off. Firing the weapon. Firing the weapon. They're still caught. They're still caught. And that is surely it. No! Spider! Oh! They're hanging on for dear life, but Soichoku wants to end that life. Spider, they may have gotten out there. No, they do not cease hanging for what feels like an eternity. Their season falls in the pits. Soichoku 3-1. They did not risk it at all this match. They wanted to ensure the victory because they want to ensure a top 10 seed for themselves, and now it is very likely that they will be taking a top 10 seed. Spider, in the meantime, will have to say goodbye to them. Still, no wins with the axe and undefeated with the flipper. We'll see him next season, though. Maybe. In the meantime, Soichoku heading to that top 32. Good for them. Here we are for the second fight of the night. The biggest cheese sits in the red square. It takes on New Blood. Both these bots sit at 2-1. New Blood got some very destructive wins before taking Demonic the full 3 minutes, only to lose. I believe it was a split decision, I think. But it was a close fight nonetheless, even if it wasn't a split decision. New Blood has looked devastating with its weapon. In the meantime, the biggest cheese, they took a very bad loss, admittedly, to Green Screen, who just got 2-2 as their final record. Biggest cheese, of course, a bit disappointed that they took that loss, but they did bounce back with 2 very strong wins. One over Conundrum Evo, and the other over, let's see, I don't remember. Over Rewind. So they are currently sitting at a decent 2-1. Conundrum Evo looking in a pretty solid position for the top 32, as is Green Screen. Rewind, not as much, but a win here would certainly guarantee top 32 for the biggest cheese. In the meantime, New Blood, 2-2 as a low-tier bot. It's gonna be tough. Their schedule wasn't the toughest either, aside from the Demonic match, so a loss here, it might be a bit disappointing, and it might not be enough for them to make it. Let's see, though. 3, 2, 1, activate. That's all talk. We don't know what's going to happen when these two bots actually face each other, and the biggest cheese, I'm like a maniac! One hit, the wheels wiped off! A huge mistake made! And New Blood takes full advantage. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cease. New Blood, one shot was all it took. They saw the opening, the biggest cheese, a huge driving error, and they expose themselves. New Blood takes full advantage, and all they need is one hit to take both wheels right off of the biggest cheese. They are 3-1. The biggest cheese 2-2. The biggest cheese still in the running for the top 32, but they're probably going to be in the lower end of seeds. New Blood, that was a very, very good win for them. And top 32 certainly guaranteed now. They look really, really deadly. I would not want to face them even if I was a high team machine. This next match tonight is between two very competent real-life Robot Wars competitors who both did not really rely on an active weapon during their successes. Panic Attack here, taking on Storm 2. Panic Attack sits at 2-1. A loss to TR5 is rather excusable. Very dominant wins over two other Brit Flippers in Samurai and Apollo, where they just kind of controlled the whole match. Storm 2, in the meantime, has had it pretty easy. Admittedly, I think they've had two highlight fights, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Took on Rattler, who's winless. Took on This Is a Serious Bot, who ended their season 1 and 3. And in the opening round, I believe, took on Skynet, who's 2-2. So, not the worst records, I suppose, but just because a bot's 3-0, it doesn't necessarily mean they've beaten the best of the crop. And that is true for Storm 2. This is a win that they really need to really cement themselves. Ever since they added these new plastic bits to the front, they've been very low, but so are Panic Attack's front forks. And if Storm 2's flipped, we don't really know how good it's going to do. 3, 2, 1. Activate the match. It starts here. Storm 2, they do seem the lower of these two machines. And Minnow gets right into the underbelly of Panic Attack, and Panic Attack slammed into the pit release button. Storm 2, so much more force. Oh! Oh no! Oh no! Cease! Storm 2, what has happened? What has happened there? Panic Attack, they take the victory. Storm 2, they slammed Panic Attack and flipped him over and then drove themselves down the pit which they had opened. It was looking so good, but they take the loss. Panic Attack, they claim victory in this match. The top 32, certainly likely for them. For Storm 2, it's definitely a possibility, but that is a loss that hurts. That could have been an undefeated season for Storm 2, and they threw it away on their own. An unforced error. That might be the difference between them getting a top 16 seed and instead being in the bottom 16, sorry. That one's gotta hurt a lot. Here we are heading into another match. We've got the 1-2 Distraught taking on the 2-1 UFO 5. Now, UFO 5 pretty much already guaranteed top 32. Their only loss was a split decision one to Extra Peppermint. They dominated Generic in Generic's only loss of the season. And also won another fight. Right, against Abel, where they sent Abel out the arena despite having a broken weapon. So their wins have been very strong. Distraught, in the meantime, the weapons looked very strong. The bot itself has suffered. It's lost 2 fights where it broke its opponent's weapon, but got shoved into Bullseye's corner patrol zone and flipped over and couldn't self-right. This time there's no Bullseye in the arena, but UFO 5 is known a bit as a spinner killer. Let's see what happens here. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Distraught, of course, the double full body spinner design is what they're known for, but the teeth are just not low enough to hit UFO 5, who has gotten underneath immediately and is trying to use their lifter, but it's not quite in the right spot. Oh, that one almost had it. This is tough. Oh, Distraught, though, a decent shot. We weren't really expecting that. A couple of more decent shots. UFO 5's lifter really just pushing Distraught about rather than actually lifting the opponent. And a big struggle from UFO 5 so far. The lack of capability from UFO 5. Big hit from Distraught, though, at the rear. And into the wall, though, Distraught. They, of course, look deadly. The Dutchman's axe stuck into Distraught and not really capable of doing all that much. UFO 5 trying to take advantage, trying to tip Distraught, who is up on their side, spinning around that base, that secondary full-body spinner, trying their best, but no, they do fall on their head, and it's over for them. They send the Dutchman flying, though. Dutchman, you're just so pathetic, really. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cease. And Distraught, the lack of a Shremek comes back to bite them yet again. UFO 5, 3-1, recovering from that opening loss. They might be able to sneak into the top 10. Some very good wins out of them. Distraught, their season's done. 1-3, just not enough as a low-tier machine. The Dutchman just cannot self-ride either. Let's be honest here, all of the house robots would go 0-4. Maybe Minnow could win a fight. Maybe. But that's that. Here we are back in the arena for potentially the end of a entire team's season here. Team Havoc, they got in with both Suffocate and Vertigo, currently with a 1-5 record between the two bots. Vertigo got that one win in a main event over Iron Off 4, who also sits at 1-2. A bit of bad luck gave Vertigo losses against both Apocalyptic and Emerald. And now their season's certainly in a lot of danger. Not the worst losses, not the worst wins. The strength of schedule is kind of meh, is kind of the best way I can put it. I think Vertigo faced a lot of machines on a similar level to itself, and unfortunately was unable to pull through in two of them. Now they take on Extra Peppermint, who is easily their toughest match so far. Extra Peppermint, in the meantime, you know, you look at their record. It's 1-2. Their only one was a split judge's decision over UFO 5, and you're like, well, that's not really that strong. Add in the fact that one of their losses was a very disappointing one against Calamity 5, who aren't looking all that amazing either, and suddenly you're really starting to wonder how good this machine was, but it really did look like it was about to make Plank, the reigning champions, head down to 1-2 in their match against each other. It was so close. I think it was about 5, maybe even less seconds left, and it would have head to the judges, and Plank was certainly on top. Or sorry, Extra Peppermint was certainly on top at that time, but they just got chucked out of the arena. Extra Peppermint, even if they go 1-3 here, probably into the top 32, simply from that performance alone. Strength of schedule for them is also pretty good. Plank is a guarantee, probably, for the top 32. We just saw UFO 5 book their spot, and Calamity 5 are kind of on the bubble at the moment. We'll see if they make it. But here we go. Vertigo, they need a win here to keep their season alive. Extra Peppermint need it for a better seeding. Let's see who takes it. 3, 2, 1, activate. It's interesting that Extra Peppermint's actually taken on 3 like Brit Flipper designs.
and lost to both of its losses are to those bots, and its only win is against UFO 5, who was the only bot they faced that was not a Brit flipper. And UFO 5, of course, we saw go 3-1 with victories over non-flippers. They took on a full body spinner. They took on a vertical spinner in generic, of course. Man, very solid start from Extra Peppermint. What has happened here? The flipper of Vertigo stuck open. We saw this, I think, in its last match. And there it is. It's done. It's done. Surely. Oh, unless the little mini-bot to the rescue. And it is. Oh, it's maybe not enough, though. The mini-bot really trying here, but Vertigo just keeps getting outdone. It's Flipper in too much trouble, and now Extra Peppermint bullying the mini-bot, pinning the mini-bot to the wall. And that's it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cease. And that is the match for Extra Peppermint. That is a very good way to end a season that started a bit slow but ended very, very strong. 2-2 record. They are certainly heading into the playoffs, into the top 32. Where exactly they're seated is yet to be determined. In the meantime, for Vertigo, sometimes luck just isn't on your side, and I think that's unfortunately what happened with Vertigo, not only today with their weapon, but in their past matches as well. In their match against Emerald, in their match against... I'm blanking. I forgot who they lost to. Apocalyptic. It just wasn't on their side, and it was in their match against Iron Off 4. I think there's a world where, with this same schedule, we saw Vertigo as 4-0, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. Instead, a 1-3 record means that we will be saying goodbye to the machine. Here we are, two newcomers taking each other on. One of two brand new machines that made it into the high tier is Quality Control, who sits at a 1-2 record. They took on Sochoku the first round and put up a pretty good fight, made it to the judges, did unfortunately lose. After that, they decimated Badlands, and then took on Heatwave and were just unable to best that opponent. They sit at 1-2. Strength of schedule is a bit all over the place for them, I suppose. Badlands, of course, 1-3 at the end of the season. Sochoku, though, 3-1. And Heatwave, 1-2. We don't know how it'll end. They take on another rookie in Synthetic, who sit at 3-0, which was very surprising considering their draws. They got two shock KOs, one over Iron Off 4 in their opening match, where they just knocked him onto their back with their flipper open, and Iron Off 4 couldn't do anything about it. And then one over Game Over in their last match, where they pinned the vertical spinner onto their plow. Outside of that, they also beat Claw Viper, who is winless at the moment. But Synthetic, probably in the top 32, most likely. It's a battle for seeding at the moment, a battle for an undefeated rookie year, which would be insane. In the meantime, we've also got Quality Control on the other side of the arena, battling for their playoff lives, really. Not the strongest season, not the weakest season, but a win here would probably guarantee them top 32, and they certainly want it. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Here we go. Quality Control digging in with that big old drum spinner, trying to get some solid hits in, struggling even though. And now inside of the opponent, trying to get off. The two machines may be stuck together, actually. Trying to use the lifter to kind of nudge his opponent off his Synthetic. Oh, Synthetic shedding parts. And there it is, finally free. That's both of the little wedgelets at the front of the bot. Little anti-horizontal bits, they both come off during that exchange. A grab from Synthetic, trying to push them into the corner patrol zone. Trying to get quality control into danger. But it might not happen. Quality control seems to be having weapon issues this match, though. Oh, a huge shot there onto Synthetic. That one as well. Some big hits. Now they're really starting to get into this match. But look at this grab from Synthetic. Huge flip, but it actually hurts Synthetic more than it helps them. And quality control trying to bring that weapon into play onto a now exposed quality control, or an exposed Synthetic, who is getting back up. It's a bit of a slow process. I don't think we've had to see them self-right yet this season. I could be wrong, though. And now getting into their opponent yet again. And Bullseye firing the flipper. That time, not so lucky as quality control. That time it hurt. Because now the underbelly whacked by Ribcage. And now they've got to try and self-right. Remember that arm on the bag. It doesn't really do much of anything. It's not long enough to self-right the machine. And now, quality control, they've got to self-right themselves, trying to save their season, really. 10. And they're back right as the count starts. They get back into the arena, into the fight, and they've been pushed. And a big flip again from Bullseye. Synthetic using the house robot expertly. And again, quality control gonna have to try and right themselves, and they do so fantastically. But another drive into Bullseye's patrol zone. Flips both bots over. Both we saw kind of slow to self-right, but Synthetic does it nice and quick without any pressure on them to get back up. And quality control, they're bouncing back into the ring as well, trying to keep this fight alive. These two rookies giving us a very good match so far. Damage from quality control, but a lot of control from Synthetic. And look at this, quality control struggling to self-right. No time left in the match. One last hit, maybe, but no cease. There were some great moments from both of these bots in this match, but only one of them can take the victory. Will Synthetic go 4-0, or will we see quality control break even on their regular season record? Here we are into the arena again after that tough match. One of these bots had to take victory. In the end, the winner by 6-3 decision is Synthetic. 4-0 rookie season from this grappler machine. This is not a meta design in the slightest. I think there's only been one other successful Lego grappler, and that bot is really only competed once in one tournament, and it wasn't this main series. Synthetic, a fantastic season. I would not have expected this kind of a performance out of them heading into it, but they have shown that they are potentially a dark horse for the main bracket. Quality control, they fall to 1-3 their season, now in the hands of the selection committee. It's not a bad loss to end on, but now you certainly have to be worrying, because there's a lot of bots on the bubble, and it's going to be tough to make it in. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are for the main event, the one you've been waiting for. Heatwave and Demonic, two of the deadliest horizontal spinners, two of the deadliest newcomers we have this season. Demonic, 3-0 at the moment. Devastating wins over Spider, over Apocalyptic, and in their last match, a main event against New Blood. In the meantime, Heatwave, a bit more of a struggle. One of two newcomers put into the high tier. The other, of course, was Quality Control. Heatwave, an unlucky loss against Generic, where they weren't able to get much impact before they got outdriven by Medcart. but they managed to bounce back with a very nice win over Quality Control. They sit at 1-2. A win here would go a long, long way for them because their losses and their strength of schedule are okay, but you might want a little bit more. They could come in towards the back, the lower end, but a win here would certainly help them a lot. Let's see who makes it. 3, 2, 1. Activates, and Demonic getting up to speed nice and quick. So is his opponent. And there's that tactic we saw in the match against New Blood, getting underneath with the wedge, but Demonic, getting launched across the arena, and a huge hit there from Heatwave. Heatwave yet to really live up to the hype they put, but what a shot that one was! That one absolutely launched Demonic across the arena. And another one, that one sounded like it hurt. Demonic, the weapon isn't working, I can't tell. They're trying to lead with the wedge. That was the tactic we saw them use to great effect against New Blood. But now, I think it's because they don't have a weapon. And it's not working here. They are not getting under Heatwave, except there. They do a good shove into the corner patrol zone, and Heatwave able to stabilize very quickly. That back wedge on Demonic is very low to the ground. But sometimes you do have to meet your opponent head-to-head, and that was one of those times that you don't want to. Demonic sent flying. Heatwave, though, rides straight up on that back wedge of Demonic. And sent spiraling from that one, trying to keep this fight going there, whacking away that wedge on Demonic. They're dealing with it very well. And another hit into the corner patrol zone. Demonic, the weapon, spinning, but that might just be from impacts with Heatwave's weapon. Another solid hit from Heatwave. And they are absolutely on top of this match. Breaking your opponent's weapon is something that does go a long way when it comes to the judges. And, just kind of skate dancing over the top of Demonic. And maybe that's a tactic, just fly over them and get an easy shot to the other side, because they've now done that twice in a row. And Demonic is struggling to keep up with their opponent here. Now they've got Heatwave maybe in their control, sub 40 seconds left. Heatwave takes a shot from the Dutchman's axe, but now getting back up to speed, and that's just not good enough. They're getting deflected decently by Demonic, but like we said before, no active weapon. It hurts so much. Something broke in that impact, and it was Demonic's weapon that suffered, and as such, it is Demonic who suffers in this one. A loss is pretty inevitable for them unless they can do something. Their wedge just has not been as effective, and cease. Heatwave. A very good final showing. Demonic, a broken weapon is hard to bounce back from. Will they manage it? It goes to the judges. Here we have the decision. The winner of tonight's main event by a 6-3 judges decision is Heatwave. That was their best showing all season. It really was. It was the most damage they've done. It was the best shots that they had. And it was against a very solid opponent. Demonic, unfortunate that the weapon broke. Unfortunate that their season is not an undefeated one. But we will be seeing them in the top 32. As for the decision itself, 3-0 in damage for Heatwave after breaking their opponent's weapon. And we actually saw Demonic take control, but it just was not enough. Let's see what both these spots do in the top 32, because I guarantee you they're both making it. We'll see you next time. Just 2 more fight cards left, and then some highlight fights, of course. But after that, we're ready for the top 32 for the bracket.